I created a word. I call it Less-imony. We get up here and we give our testimonies a lot of times, and it's like we fly through our whole testimony. So with this right here, we can kind of take a part of it and make it broader, like a lesson. We're supposed to do a testimony this week, and I was looking, there's a lot of things that I hear people talk about, and I was looking for something to fit that, and I couldn't. You know, the main thing is we had a guy here not long ago, and he come up to me, and he's like, okay, I'm here, now what? You know, you've got a lot of questions when you first show up in any type of recovery. It doesn't matter if it's depression or anything, now what? But once you complete that 12-step, there's a lot of now what's then. And that's what I really wanted to find, you know, like what to expect when the smoke clears, you know, whenever your mind gets solid again. Or when that depression finally fades away. What do I do now so I don't go back to where I was? Or when the anxiety attacks are gone, you know, where do I go? So a lot of these questions that kept coming up to me, kind of kept notes of them, and I kind of filled in some myself, and I kind of made this up, a Less-imony. And instead of having a bunch of just statistics and a bunch of words, I got some little clips in here. I find funny, y'all may not. But I have some little clips in here that kind of help along the way of it. That way it'll help you kind of remember what we were talking about. The first thing that I tell a lot of people is when you're going through withdrawal, man, that can affect your mental and your emotional health. A lot of people come into recovery and it's like, all right, I haven't done drugs in 2 weeks. Why do I feel all crappy? That withdrawal is going to mess with your mind. You know, we've all heard of people getting the DTs and the don't wants and the urges and the grumpiness. I went through all that, the anxiety, the depression, the mood swings I went through. One day I was happy and the next day I was patching a hole in sheetrock, you know. But some people can just quit cold turkey and some people need a program. And I explain that to people. I've had people come in here and said, you know, one day I just said I don't want to drink no more, and he never drank again. Not everyone can do that, but I'm glad he could. So a lot of times you ask yourself, you know, I'm clean now, what the hell? Why am I still going through all this? You know, I'm confused, I'm forgetful, I'm either overstimulated or understimulated. And before, whenever we were, you know, either stuck in our funk, no matter which way it was, at least we knew what we were doing. You know, it's like when I got up in the morning, I knew I was going to go get high that day at least, but the first morning I got up and I knew I wasn't doing it no more. What do I do now? I was just lost. So when I first got clean, I got bored. And that's what jumped on my whole mentality. I got bored. It seemed like being high gave me creativity. I mean, I'd sit down and watch Animal Planet for hours. That stuff amazed me. C-SPAN. There's a comedian that makes a joke, but literally us stoners would sit down and watch C-SPAN or the History Channel, and it would occupy me. And then I got clean, and it was like, that's a bunch of useless information, and I just became weird. You have all this time on your hand and you don't know what to do with it anymore. And you go crazy. And then to top it all off, look what happens. You put a mask back on that you fought so long to get the mask off. So it's like you just get weird. Oh no, that's not me. No, I'm not that creative. But you see, my brain became out of balance. It was so easy for me to do stuff like that. You know, I had to deal with my past, but I also had to deal with the emotions that past was bringing up right now. That's a lot of things people don't think about. Your present and your past collide right there, and it's a lot. It got to a point I would just sit around staring into a blank space, just not knowing if I was crazy or not. And it was like, dude, when I was high, I'd do that. I stared at a Christmas tree for an hour and a half one time. Didn't blink. Did not blink. I was on a date with you. Did not blink. The movie started. I turned my head. I looked back and the credits were rolling. Everybody was laughing like, dude, you stared at that tree for an hour and a half. I didn't know what was normal anymore. So the next thing is you might start to have cravings, but not for what you were doing before, for other substances. You know, whenever we're all addicted, especially us, to a substance, our brain changes. The chemistry is just totally different. It alters our reward system in our brain. And we all hear about dopamine. That's what we chase. And the more you do, the more it's going to take on your dopamine. A little bit just don't work anymore. So if you're fighting with shopping, you can miss that high of shopping. Or overeating. You see all this food and it's like, dude, I just want to tear into the sweets. You know, if you're a gambler, it's hard to go get a Coke and not see that lottery right there. You know, and if you're drinking, I feel so bad for alcoholics, because the minute you walk into any place in Louisiana, the beer barrel's right there when you walk in the door. So, you know, you're stuck with all that. And even if you've been isolating, you don't know how to handle people. All of a sudden, all these people want to be part of your life. You know, and it's okay to have people in your life as long as their support and your goals line up. But, you know, buying that new purse, or me just sitting down and tearing up a carrot cake, playing cards with a buddy. You know, when I drank, the big thing was who's going to crack the seal on the bottle. That was an honor for us. Yeah. You know, it was just being by yourself, listening to music that puts you in that funk can be satisfying also. So your craving is going to change. You might not do those things before. I couldn't go to my buddy's house and play. We used to play poker over there, and it was silver. We called it silver poker because it could only be silver change, no pennies. But I couldn't go over there anymore because they were all drinking. There was cocaine, there was weed there, and I'm like, dude, I'm trying to stop. So that craving would pop back up. And cravings, they also make a reaction to stress. And it's because you have that void. And you all know if the void is in your life, you don't know how to fill it. We've all had heartbreaks in the past where we lost somebody, and then you just have this void and you don't know what to do with it. You know, when I was smoking that morning cigarette with that first cup of coffee when I got to work, oh my God, that was worth waking up that morning.
Right.
And then it got to a point I wasn't smoking and the coffee didn't taste right. I drank coffee black, like everybody, black. After I quit smoking, nope, got to put something in it now. I can't stomach the black coffee anymore. It tasted nasty. And then, because I had the craving of the cigarette, I'm not going to drink the coffee. Caffeine will give you a headache if you're used to drinking it every day. So a lot of that, we don't realize it. See how your cravings will change. Every year around this time, I go through boxes and boxes of that. Yes, and it's mainly because that time of year when that's out, that was our biggest drinking years. That's when my family would get together. And they were amazed that this little 16-year-old punk could put all these old people to bed drinking. So you know your cravings are going to change. Now instead of me going by that fifth of Crown Royal that I bought every year since I've been 14, 15 years old, I go nail these little Debbie snack cakes, man. But we have to understand that's normal. That's perfectly normal. The main thing here, though, is we have to catch that and say, all right, Brian, you can have one box. There's 5 snack cakes in it. Can't have more than 1 box a week. Because now there's a Walmart right by work. I got a stash in my office. That's breakfast. All of a sudden, there's no more biscuits and gravy. It's a box of those and a Dr. Pepper. So we have to learn and watch that craving, and we have to balance it. Another thing a lot of people don't understand is some people may not support you in your new life. And if you're an addict or a drinker, you know that already. When you make the choice to begin to deal with your issues, you probably expect everyone around you to be happy and celebrate that decision. I did. I'm like, man, I could be with my family now. I'm not drunk no more. Didn't happen like that. But it's also common for some people to be less supportive. Friends who are battling addiction or the ones you were getting high with are going to be resentful of you because you're not around anymore. You're goody-goody. You're better than me. Oh, you're one of them church people now. We've all heard that, every last one of us. Because they see your progress and they can see your sobriety and they're just not ready to take that step. I'm going to be honest with you. Some people just like to get high. They really don't have problems. I got a lot of buddies who have perfect lives. They just like getting high on the weekends. But I don't go around them because of that. So there's some resentment right there. You know, but we got to watch that, because that's where this codependency we keep hearing about starts popping up. And then we start to realize that we were codependent on these people a lot of times. You don't believe me? Go to my buddy's house, see if he has something. That's codependency. I understand that was part of our addiction and what we did, but that's codependency. Or the person fighting depression that's only around the Debbie Downers because everybody's fighting. That's a codependency. You know, I came from a family, a very big drinking family. 2-year-old birthday party, ice down the beer with salt. My first communion, we didn't have a cake. They had 4 ice chests at the house and a barbecue. You know, any holiday, the beer would flow, and on special occasions, the hard liquor would get busted out. So, you know, coming out of addiction, I see now that was a main part of my problem, because it was like, this is normal. I didn't look at it like that. And all these people supported me until I became the problem. Then I had the people that wanted to support me because I had the money to buy the alcohol, and I had the people that didn't want me around. So you're going to fight that back and forth. You know, it was hard for me because no matter which way I looked, someone was mad. And whenever I wasn't around, they were mad. And then when I was around, they were mad. So I was kind of stuck like this.
Oh, God.
Between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
See? One last time. Why not?
Oh.
You know, this might not be proper to say here, but it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter what you do, it's wrong.
Yeah.
You're sober, you're wrong. You're drunk, you're wrong. You know, the family, they wanted me to be normal. Some of us just can't be normal. I can't.
What's normal?
I can't be normal. I can't go sit down. I can now. Like when my son got married, I was able to have a glass of champagne and toast with him. Had 1 glass. For Christmas, my wife says, hey, I want a glass of wine. I will sit down with my wife and drink a glass of wine. Back then, I couldn't. Because 1 beer on a Friday night didn't stop until next Thursday. Because I kept drinking and drinking. So there is no being normal in the beginning, because right here, I was just trying to figure out how to be Brian, you know. You're gonna have to have some very hard conversations. We talk about giving amends. Breaking free from addiction means changing a lot of things in your life. And we hear it all the time. Because some of those things change the way you respond and how you allow people to treat you. It can be difficult for friends and families, even those that are truly invested in your well-being, to understand and to know how these changes are reacting to you. You know, you're gonna have to put up some warning signs, and you're gonna have to put up boundaries. Tell everybody, whenever you're going down the road, you'll see a yield sign, you know, hey, it's time to slow down. We have to start recognizing that. Dangerous curve ahead. It's slippery. Something's gonna happen. Even a caution light. I blow through caution lights. No, you're supposed to stop. Even road closed, and I've told people that. My boundary with some people, that road is closed. You know, a lot of people said, well, you burned so many bridges. Yeah, but I learned to swim. Now, if I want to see you, I can swim across the river to see you. You know, that's what it taught me. But these conversations, they're difficult to have because I was out of it 99.9% of the time. People want to talk to me, and I just wasn't there. You know, I didn't know what I said, what I did, or even what was started. I say this a lot in my recovery. The scariest thing is for me to go back to Crowley and walk through Walmart and see a high school friend that I haven't seen since high school because I don't know what was the last thing I told them, what I did to them, if they mad, and do I need to run because I'm out of shape. You know? But I don't know if I'm going to be hugged or I'm going to be slapped half the time. That's how I am. Don't know what to say. And then one thing comes out of my mouth at the end. And you know what? I should have did just like that dude did. I should have just kept my mouth shut the whole time. But I can't. Because even though you're on that backside of your sobriety and you're on the backside of that, you still want to be able to defend something that you did. So, you know, sometimes going quiet will give you peace if that's what you're looking for. This is the biggest thing. I have you might miss using, you will miss using.
Yeah.
Smokers,
Yep.
I know a lot of people quit smoking for 30 years, like one cigarette 30 years later, and they 2 packs a day in a week.
Right. Yeah.
That easily. I've had buddies that'll take one drink again at a wedding, and next thing you know, they're gone for a couple of weeks. You know, but the thing that we're really missing is it's not actually the drugs, it's the release we get whenever we're on that. You know, I said it a while back that a lot of people did substance abuse to where they could handle their emotions, to where they had feelings. And someone said, no, you can't. I said, well, why are so many people on antidepressant medication?
Right.
Practically everybody I know is. They're on something, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. But don't think that has anything, you know, it's because it helps us. It helps us get through it. It's not that we're missing the using, we're missing having the clear mind. Because whenever we were high, we didn't care, you know. My buddy, he Kentucky Derby, that's the only time I ever hear from him because he's going to place his bet and he wants to tell me what horse he's going. I don't watch horse racing. I don't. But he calls me all the time. You know, garage sales, a lot of people with shopping addictions, man. Well, I'm going to the garage sale because I'm only going to spend $25. I'm only going to spend $5 instead of spending, I don't know, $100 somewhere else. But you see, because you miss that. It's not really the buying, it's that hunt. It's to find that thing.
It's both.
You know, it is. You know, that's like me whenever we go eat out somewhere and, you know, they talking about appetizers. I'm looking at the desserts already and I'm like, hey, can I get this instead? You know, I'm already looking at that. My thing is Dr. Pepper on a hot day. It's not going to do me no good, but I have an issue with Dr. Pepper. So before entering recovery, we need to figure out a way of handling things, because the using, that's the biggest part of your life. I started at the age of 8. I mean, and then you fast forward to what, 29 years old? Yeah, 26 years old. That's a long time. That was my whole childhood growing up. Everything was around alcohol or drugs. And then you get sober and it's like, I missed it because I missed the people that was around me. You know, it's weird. Like I said, you don't really miss the high, you miss that hunt. The side effects of withdrawals are something just to keep you motivated, though. It's to keep you going. Watch this right here and tell me if this isn't factual. You've been sober a long time. You know what that is. You think you can touch it. I can just play with it a little bit. A lot of people I know that OD, this is how it all started out. Just a little bit. I can handle that. I can handle a little bit. This is what drugs does to your mind, right here.
Yeah.
That looks so beautiful, don't it? Because your mind is so clear. But then you come down. He's walking faster now because he's looking now. That little bit, that didn't hurt me. Don't even think about it the second time. Didn't last as long, did it?
No.
Lasted shorter. He's walking faster. See? That's how easy it is for people with a substance abuse to fall back on it. It is that easy. He didn't even get his flip out of it this time. Now he's getting darker. You see, he's starting to get damaged now. You're going backwards. It's not that he missed the using. He missed that flying in the air and just that peacefulness. straight on your head. That's where we were in the first place. We landed straight on our head. Now look, things are getting darker again. Whenever I tell people you're going to miss using, this is what I tell them to remember. Remember this point in your life right here when you said enough was enough. When it was dark, didn't even get a buzz off of it now. Boom. That's the point you need to remember when you get to, I think I can handle it. Because you can't. There's no way. And it doesn't matter what it is. This could easily be depression, anxiety, or anything. You're a shell of a person again. So if you can go back and you can think of when I said I had enough, it helps you to move forward. Look, nothing. You feel bad for that little thing, don't you? You feel, I don't know what it is, but you begin to feel bad for it. Because you know, that's pretty powerful right there. But that's something we don't talk about on the backside, because whenever you bring that up in group, people are like, oh, that's too graphic. You might trigger someone. That could save someone's life right there. Who's thinking of a relapse. Who's thinking of, man, I'd rather be depressed like that and be all by myself, you know? And then you finally get to this point and watch his moment of clarity. He's just gonna stare at it. Because now he realizes what it was. That's crazy, ain't it? Plus, they can't all be funny. I mean, I had to put something in there that was a little... But again, we keep thinking that we could just handle a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. We lost a good friend to heroin because whenever she relapsed, she thought she could shoot the same amount of heroin she was shooting 5 years ago. She OD'd. It wasn't fentanyl, it was heroin. And whenever, you know, people talk about it, well, I wonder why she done it. She missed using. You miss that until you get there. The next thing is, you may not recognize yourself. I hear this a lot. I don't know who I am anymore. Getting sober is a big change. It affects every part of your life. It's normal to feel a sense of self-loss. And again, I don't know who I am anymore because your dreams, your goals, they all have changed. Your personality can even be different. It's normal for all those changes to be overwhelming, and it's important to give yourself plenty of time and plenty of grace. I don't, like I said, you hear this, I don't know myself anymore. And I can promise you, identity loss is gonna happen. It will. It can happen 30 years like me after I've been sober all this time. See one thing on, and just all of a sudden I don't know who I am no more. I start writing these lessons and I get lost in the words, and it's like, it's gonna happen to you. I'm not saying that to scare you, but it's just to prepare you, because like I said, they don't talk about that. You're no longer gonna be who you were, so you're not doing the same things you were doing. You're gonna be doing something different now. And I didn't know what it was like to be sober at that time, because honestly, most of us, we don't go no more than 8 or 10 hours without something. And that's the time you pass out and you sleep. You know, there was a point in my life I would take something to wake up, take something to keep me awake, and then take something to wind me down and go to bed, because it was crazy.
You okay? I'm fine. Let's go. Hold on. Where are you? I'm in the yard. Who am I? Hey, Comics. And who are you? I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. See what I mean? His identity changed. One hard hit, and bam, you don't know who you are anymore.
My name is Batman.
That's one of my most favorite Super Bowl commercials.
You like to ride with Batman?
Like to ride with Batman. But it's the hardest thing to do, because you got to rebuild who you are. And you don't know who you are. You know, I go through identity crisis so much, it don't even freak me out when it happens no more. I can be driving, you know where I work. I could be driving to work in Opelousas and see a cow in the field, and it bring me back 20 years back to whenever we lived out in the country and had cows, and one thing happened and I start questioning my identity. Is that easy? But don't look at it as a bad thing, because when you question your identity, that's a sign of growth. That's a sign of you already recognize, like that, whatever that little thing was, you know what it is. But just be ready for some people not to accept who you are now. Some will be comfortable with the old you. You know, everybody knew where they stood with drunk Brian, because he would just sit down. I'd get loud, but I'd just sit down. But sober Brian, I'm unpredictable at these family gatherings, because when I leave, I stop at the door and tell everybody, hey, I'm leaving, y'all can talk about me now, and I walk out. I'm a totally different person now. It's like I've always been the black sheep of the family, and now I wear it like with a badge of honor. Another thing no one ever talks about in recovery is the loneliness. It's very seldom, and I think it's because we don't talk about it, because it brings us back to that point. You know, what we need to understand is our people, places, and things, they've all changed. People that are not healthy for us, you're gonna miss, because you actually love some of them people. Those were your ride and die people. Some people are also on the opposite side of this, and they're just not healthy for you at all. But then again, you're not healthy for them either, so they've walked away from you. So feeling lonely shouldn't feel like failure, just reconstruction. The places, man, there's some places I can't even go no more. It's not that it really brings back the urges, but it brings back all those bad memories. You know, and I say bad because we always talk about the good old days, but I'm realizing now there wasn't too much good about them old days. You know I did some crazy stuff, and I did a lot, and I seen some stuff, man, and I did some stuff, man, but it's like I traded memories for that stuff. Memories of my wife and my kids as being, as kids, as babies. You know, I quit going fishing because I wasn't getting high no more. That was the whole point of going fishing. I quit going fishing because of it. You know, things that you used to have, they're just not there anymore. You know, a lot of people have that, they smoke and they still have that same ashtray they always had just sitting in the middle of their, some people get rid of them. You don't have it no more. You know, shopping, credit cards, you cut them up. We used to have an extra refrigerator outside that was always stocked. You quit drinking, you get rid of that refrigerator. I'm not putting no Cokes and Pops in that, no. You know, I'm gonna get rid of it. You know, I have a buddy, he quit playing golf. Because every time he went play golf, the little caddy girl comes around and you get a 6-pack of beer, and he didn't want to drink no, so he quit playing golf. So that urge can always pop up when you least expect it.
Lane?
What?
What are you doing?
Nothing.
Yes, you are. Oh, buck up, little camper. We'll beat that slope together.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm right behind you, buddy.
Man, that's a real shame when folks be throwing away a perfectly good white boy like that.
You see how some people want to help you on this slippery slope, and they always end up hurting you in the long run? But that's just how screwed up things can get. And it gets to a point you can feel like Lane, like someone just threw you away. You know, it's like all these people I had in my life, and then I finally do something good for myself, and they all split on me. So it's not really, it's something that you just have to, you're going to have to deal with. You're going to have a lot of time on your hands now, because you're just not going to be around a lot of things. But you need to be careful on letting just anyone pop into your life now to want to help. As you can see, some people's help just ain't right. But with other people, and when I was dealing with my loneliness, all of a sudden people were like, well, hey, you come to my house, come to my house. All of a sudden I did have family that supported me, but then I found out they were just using me as a pawn so they could call the other people and say, Brian's in my house and he don't like you no more. You get that. Now they're already mad, and now you're completely all by yourself. So that is one of the things. Another one is tackling major life changes. You do them one at a time. You know, when you get sober, you feel like you're just ready for everything. You just, man, I'm ready to sponsor. I'm ready to serve. I'm going to make the coffee. I'm going to fold the tables. I'm going to pick up the chairs. But it doesn't happen like that all the time. You know, it's not uncommon for people to change jobs, even go back to school. In relationships has been around forever. That got big real fast. Or even relocate. I've had a couple of buddies that moved like to Baton Rouge to get away from the drugs. I went to New Iberia. That didn't help me much. They put me in the middle of, I was on Hopkins Street over there. And that's when Hopkins Street was safe to walk, but I mean the drugs were still there. But it's never easy just to move forward with your new life. You should take it in step by steps, because what will happen is you'll get overwhelmed. And whenever you get overwhelmed, your chances of your relapse pops back up.
I can see the Statue of Liberty already. Very small, of course. I'm the king of the world!
Any of y'all seen that movie? Never watched it. I've seen this part. I've seen it on TikTok. That's why I knew this existed. But he's just coming over, and I can see the Statue of Liberty. He's just coming over, and he's the king of the world. I do know he dies, though. So, you know, he already made a major life change, but at the end of the movie, he's going to die. So don't put anything off, you know. Take it one step at a time. He should have enjoyed America a little bit before finding that Rose chick. You know what I'm trying to say? You may that could be any of us. We have all this freedom, and we just, hey, we're the king of the world. No, you're not. You're that far away of going right back where you were. And sometimes that upsets people when I tell them that. It's like you need to slow down. Just need to take your time with it. Tackle your life changes one at a time. It gives you space to sit back and evaluate it and say, hey, is this really working for me? Because you may have a sponsor, but at the end of the day, it's your responsibility. You have to say, is this working for me? And if not, you need to pivot. Pivot. Nobody got that Sunday. Nobody understood what that was. The biggest thing is you can recover. I don't care what anybody tells you. You know, you can recover. You're not always going to be a recovering alcoholic. You're not always going to be a recovering drug addict. There got to come a point in a time where you don't want it no more. You're not no longer an alcoholic. You're recovered from that. And that is just missed so many times, you know. I hate it whenever people just come up and they just fill in the blank of something they've been struggling with for 40 years. And it's like, okay, what have you been doing for 40 years? Well, I've been coming here. Okay, you need to go somewhere else. I'm not saying we don't love you, but this isn't working, because if in 40 years you haven't made it past denial, something isn't right. The people, now you're coming to a social club. You're no longer coming to better yourself. The old way of thinking, it may pop up and it may resurface. But we always remember we're not that same person anymore. You know, when I first started small group, first time I was there, I said I was a recovering alcoholic and a drug addict, and it made me feel dirty inside. Because I'm like, that's not who I am. I haven't wanted that for over 20 years. I had no want to drink, no want to use. And when I started saying I was recovered from that, I got a lot of pushback from people. And they were like, you'll never recover from it. My Jesus said I did. Maybe you need to go talk to your Jesus. Maybe I made a better deal with God. Because my Jesus said, I am clean. I am a new creature. I am recovered. That is no longer Brian. And I got a lot of pushback, and a lot of times people tell me, just don't say that in group. Okay, I tell them outside. I'm not going to stop preaching what Jesus did for me. Because my wife is a testimony in herself, you know. But I would reply to most of them, it's like, why do you want to encourage someone to keep living that screwed up life? With that mentality of, I need somebody. You just need Jesus. And we hear that all the time. That's all you need. And it's the honest truth. I was not going to condemn myself just to make others feel better. And because doing that, that's what gets us in trouble in the first place. This one's a little long, but this one's cool. It's old. It's back in the 80s, 90s, I think, when YouTube first came out. This is me every day, right here.
Tell me your blue skies fade to gray. Tell me your passion's gone away. And I don't need no care, no. Stand in the line just to hear the new love. You're faking a smile with the coffee cup. And tell me your life's been way offline. You fall to pieces every time. And I don't need no care, no. 'Cause you had a bad day. I tell you one down. You say
He's getting his paper printed. Put it on the copy machine. That's Brian.
Well, you need a blue sky holiday. The point is they laugh at what you say, and I don't need no care, no. Had a bad day, you take me right down. You sing a sad song just to turn it around. You say you don't know, you tell me don't lie. You work at a smile, you had a bad day. You can't don't lie, you come back down, and you really don't mind. You had a bad day. Sometimes the system goes on the bleeding and the whole thing it turns out wrong. You might not make it back and you know that you can be well, that's wrong. So where was the passion you needed the most? Oh, you pick up the leaves and the magic is lost. 'Cause you had a bad day, you take one down. You sing a sad song just to turn it around. You say you don't know, you tell me don't lie. You work at a smile and you go for a ride. You had a bad day, you see what you like. And how does it feel? Oh, one more time. You had a bad day. You had a bad day.
See, that clip gets me every time because, you know, you can recover, but you see how the anger's still there. And I showed that for a reason, because the main thing that you need to understand is you're not going to be perfect. You're still going to have outbursts, but you're just going to do stupid things like that. You know, I wouldn't look at that as a relapse. I'd look at it as a setback. It's okay to have a bad day, man, at the bottom of it. And I say that at the end of every step study. I tell them it's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to wake up this morning and say, you know what, I don't want to go to CR. It's okay. Not all of us can do it. You know, the main thing is, I'll put a little bit of humor in here just to help you, because that's how I deal with my stuff. But it's to take things like that and just to make it to where it's more memorable. You know, my main thing is Macho Man Randy Savage. I have that saved on my phone, because all that huffing and puffing, 90% of the time, that's all I need to do is to shut my mouth. So I hope that helps some of y'all. I know there's a lot of questions in there that whenever we do step studies that I get a lot deeper in. So let's go ahead, we'll do the Serenity Prayer. Take about 10 minutes. Men will go outside and the women can stay in here. God.
Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking as Jesus did, the sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next.
All right, we'll take about 10 minutes.